The No Fate channel, checking in. Jonathan here, and what gets measured gets managed, and that is never more true than with your blood work and your lab results. Unfortunately, because insurance companies are trying to save costs, most doctors don't take a proactive approach to your health. They only test your blood when something bad happens, when you have an issue, and sometimes that is just too late. So when UltraHuman reached out to me and offered me a chance to test over 100 of my biomarkers through blood and urine, you know I snapped it up. I'm gonna do a complete honest review, but in full transparency, I did not have to pay for it. So let's talk about the elephant in the room, the cost. As we know, when you go to any doctor, you've got to pay money and copays are going up. Well, Ultrahuman Vision isn't free unless you're me, and you will have to pay a yearly subscription. I think that boils down to something like a couple hundred for the lower tier and $350 or $400 for the higher tier. They do run sales, and I'll put links in the description so you can see what the price point is as of today. I want to know from you, how much would you pay to have 113 biomarkers checked? Comment down below. Step number one, you gotta pay for it. And if you're already getting blood work through your primary care physician during your annual physical, you may not need Ultrahuman Vision. You may already get enough of these markers that give you a better idea of where your body stands and where your true health is. I will say most Americans don't actually go to the doctor every year for a physical, and even many of those don't have their doctors do any sort of blood work or lab results. So this might be right up your alley, or it might just be a whole bunch of overkill. Once you pay for the subscription, which is annual, but you got to pay for it all up front, you then schedule your lab work. Now, when I went on here, it said I could have it done at home, where someone would come to my house and jab my arm. Unfortunately, I guess in this area where I live, that wasn't an option. So I did have to go down the street to get my blood drawn. And they draw a lot of blood. Because I picked the top tier, they literally drew 9 vials, and then they did a urine sample. So they literally just drained me dry. And like everything these days, Ultrahuman Vision comes with an app. And once you get your blood drawn, within a few days, you start getting some of the results. It took me like 10 business days to get everything in here and for them to give me a full report, but it was nice to see stuff as it came in. Now, one of the big things that they give you is your true blood age. How old is your blood versus your age? Well, I'm 43, going on 44. They said my blood age was 38, so I'm doing pretty good. Out of all the markers that they tested, out of the 103, 92 were in range and 11 were out of range. So we're gonna go through them, starting off with metabolic health. This is your insulin levels. You do have to do this blood work fasted, and one of the things that came up was my fasting glucose was low, or just on the lower side of normal. I did some digging about that, and it looks as though that could be because I'm actually in fairly good shape. If you are more on the athletic side, your body is a bit more attuned to using glucose in your system, so you're going to come up a little bit low. Nothing to really worry about, but it was one of those things that just kind of stood out first and foremost. By the way, I am currently tracking every Black Friday sale on my website, and it's updated hourly. We're talking everything from home gym equipment, supplements, and yes, even toilet paper. But when you use those links, let me know so that I can send you a thank you gift that would make Doc Brown proud. As far as cholesterol, now many of you, again, if you go to your primary care physician, you may already have this. My LDL, my HDL, my total cholesterol, all in the green, which is nice. I think the last time I had this tested, I was a little high in one of the categories. A couple other things that stood out were my LDL particle size and my HDL size. Now, I have no idea what this means. I'm pretty sure it just gives you your likelihood for a heart attack. I think you basically want them smaller versus larger. I will put the links to PubMD up here in the description so you can actually see what that means better, like higher versus lower, but we'll get into the results and what they tell me to do following all this. So let's talk about blood health, and we've got one standout that looks pretty scary, the white blood cell count. And this is why getting your blood work tested frequently is so important. I've had low white blood cells since I was a kid. I mean, it was one of those things, they kept testing my blood again and again and again. It's always come up low. Every blood work I have, every doctor acts like it's the craziest thing ever. But if you look at the history of my body, it's been consistent since I was like 13 years old. Same goes with the platelet count. That goes hand in hand with the white blood cell count. So even though those stand out as out of range, for me, because I've got a backlog of history that I can refer to, I know that's just my normal body. And I've certainly talked to enough doctors who've said if I really had any issues, I'd be in the hospital right now because of it. Immune regulation, most of it's in the green. We've got 2 in the red. Kidney health, I went 4 for 4. Liver health, 4, I went 9 for 9. Thyroid health, I did have one, that antibody that was elevated, so that's something we've got to look into. Hormone health, testosterone was plenty high, so doing right where I should be. Free testosterone was right where I should be. SHBG, cortisol, all this stuff is in the green. That's good news. Nutrients, okay, so I take enough multivitamins to choke a horse, but we're good. One thing that I want to mention is vitamin D, especially in New England and other areas that don't get tons of sunlight during the wintertime, are vitamin D deficient. Unfortunately, the insurance practices changed so that they couldn't write the blood work. So it just was going to charge you a different way. So a lot of physicians stopped actually taking the test, which is a shame because vitamin D is a very important fat-soluble vitamin. Omega fatty acids, this is important. Mercury and lead. I do eat a lot of fish, so I'm glad to see that these are good. Autoimmunity. Don't know what that is, but I'm in the green. And then the urine analysis looks like I'm green all the way across, so that's good. So it does say 11 biomarkers out of range. So what I could do in the future, again, as part of this subscription, was to get a retest in order to just test the ones that were out of range, so that, again, as the year goes on, we can see how we've improved them, or what impact that they're having, or if that one blood test happened to be a fluke, if your body was just off, or maybe it was fighting a cold. And here's where it comes down to what you're paying for. And these are the clinical notes, where it basically takes your information and puts it all together and tells you what you should be doing. And this is something that is nice, that I wish they actually included on the previous page, so you didn't have to kind of wait to the very end to see what it all meant. But again, the LDL, larger particle size, is generally preferable. Mine was not. Elevated thyroglobin antibodies suggest thyroid autoimmunity, which can precede or accompany autoimmune thyroid conditions. It's nice to have an action plan, because this is why you get the blood work. You want to see what can you do to improve yourself. Where should you add stuff in? I will say that most of the recommended foods that they're suggesting are just stuff that we already know we should be eating more of, right? Sardines and fish for fatty acids, for good proteins, nuts like walnuts and almonds, leafy greens. I mean, obviously eating leafy greens is good. And then eggs, which I eat literally almost 8 to 10 eggs a day. So I think I'm okay there. And then yogurt for prebiotics. And then it talks about supplements that you could do. Now, it is nice you can export this into a PDF so you can store it for yourself. You can also upload other blood work that you might have from a previous drawing or a previous doctor visit in order to try to see if you can get a trend on here. The biggest question on everyone's mind is Ultrahuman Vision worth it? I'm going to tell you, if you're already getting blood work on a regular basis through your primary care physician or some other means, it's probably not. It's probably not going to be giving you enough information to warrant the high price tag. I will say with today's copays and such, that it's really not out of the ordinary in terms of what they're charging versus what they're giving you. It is not just that first blood draw. You do get more blood draws throughout the year in order to establish a pattern with your overall health. One thing I wish they did a better job of was diving a bit deeper into what the green versus the red meant. They do a good job of highlighting some of the stuff that came up as red, telling you why it could be important, but I feel like for what you're paying for, they really should have an area where you can do a topical discussion about what it is, how it will affect you, and then if you want, it should have a spot where you can dive deeper into some more of the analysis of what that means overall for the health picture. My biggest complaint about Ultrahuman Vision actually isn't the price point. Obviously, as I mentioned already, for full transparency, I didn't have to pay for it, but I actually think that the price point that they are charging, because it's a whole year subscription and you do get multiple blood draws at that same one price, is actually not a bad deal whatsoever. But my biggest issue is after the fact. When you get those results and it gives you your blood age and it tells you what's green, what's red, what's yellow, it doesn't give you a very good actionable information. Reason being is when you go on there and see like what it tells you to do, it's literally everything that your normal doctor would tell you to do. Eat fish and eggs, get more sleep, eat leafy greens, do more aerobic exercise. I mean, come on, that's literally just bullet points that you could find on a quick Google search of how to stay healthy. I wish they went a bit deeper and tried to really give you information that you could use that you couldn't get with a quick Google search. Will I pay for this next year? Probably not. Reality is, once you have your blood work for a year, if you've got everything where you know you need it to be, you could easily take a year off or two in terms of paying for this before you get yourself retested to see where you stand. Overall, if you are already getting blood work done with your primary care physician, this may be overkill, but I know a number of you really want to get in the weeds on what your blood markers are telling you, and oftentimes with your primary care physician blood work, it's very surface level. It's very cholesterol, maybe testosterone, and a few other things thrown in. Oftentimes they don't dive deep enough to see if there are any other underlying problems. Something that will absolutely improve your health, and it's absolutely free, these two videos. As usual, thanks for watching, and don't save anything for the trip back.